All right, in this video, you will see the answers worked out and explained to you that are going to help you prepare for the test that we are going to take on polynomials. So make sure that you use this as a means of studying and preparing for that test. For numbers 1 through 4, you are using the polynomial that is given to you. Number 1 says write the polynomial in standard form. Remember that all that means is to put it in order from highest power to lowest power. So the official answer would be 2x to the third power minus 4x squared plus 5x plus 3. Because when it is not in standard form, you cannot even begin to answer the rest of the questions that are here. For number 2, it says identify the polynomial by the number of terms. It has 4 terms in it, so this would be called a polynomial. Remember that by term, it is your nomial words. For number 3, classify the polynomial by the degree. This would be by the highest power that it is. The highest power is a 3, so this is known as a cubic polynomial. And then for number 4, identify the leading coefficient. The leading coefficient is the number in front of the variable that has the highest power. So in this case for us, it would be a 2. You will have an exact setup of the same question on your test, just with a different problem. So make sure you know that these words are going to exist and that the questions are going to exist in this way. For 5 through 8, it is asking you to find the sum or difference, which means to add or subtract, depending on what problem it is given. So for number 5, it is an addition problem. Remember, with addition, it's basically just combining like terms. So pick your highest exponent and go from there. So I'm going to combine 1y squared with 5y squared, and I get 6y squared. Then I'm going to go to my 4y that there's nobody to go with, so I just drop him down in the answer. And then I take the constants of -1 and +2, and that makes +1. So there's my final answer for that one. For number 6, you'll notice that there's a subtraction sign between the two polynomials. Remember, when there's a subtraction sign, you must distribute that subtraction sign to everybody behind it. So basically, you're rewriting this to say 5t squared minus 9t plus 1, and then it's going to be minus 8t and minus 13. Then you can start combining like terms. Again, always start with your highest power first. So nobody goes with the t squared, so this is 5t squared in the beginning. I have a negative 9t that will join with a negative 8t, and that makes negative 17t. And then I have a +1 and a minus 13 for my constants, so that makes a minus 12. So my final answer is 5t squared minus 17t minus 12. For number 7, it also has a minus sign. All right, so I'm going to rewrite it by distributing my negative sign to the back, and then I'll combine like terms. So I have 7y to the third power plus 2y squared minus y minus 4, but then it's going to be minus 4y to the third plus 3y squared minus 8. And now I'm going to take and combine my like terms. The highest power I have is a 3, so I'm going to combine 7y cubed with minus 4y cubed, and that gives me 3y cubed. I go to my y squares, that would be a positive 2y squared and a positive 3y squared, which gives me a positive 5y squared. I go to my single y's, so that's a negative y, and that's it. So we just put a negative y down in the answer. And then I have my constants of -4 and -8, which makes -12. So I have a polynomial for an answer, but it's in the right order and has the right numbers attached to it. For number 8, it's an addition problem, so we don't have to worry about distributing anything. We can just jump in and start combining. I'm going to combine my m to the 4th powers first, since they're the highest one I've got. So 7 plus 2 is going to give me 9m to the 4th. Then my m squareds are next, so I have positive 6m squared and minus 3m squared. That's going to give me a positive 3m squared. And then when I combine my positive 7 with my positive 1, I get a positive 8 as my constant. All right, so the addition ones tend to be a little easier than the subtraction ones, but the subtraction ones are not bad as long as you remember about the distributing part. All right, for numbers 9 and 10, there are mistakes that have been made in each one of these, so you are asked to describe the mistake and give the correct answer. It's probably easiest to start the problem from scratch and do it on your own and get the right answer, and then see what mistakes the person may have made once you look back. All right, so that's how I'm going to approach this. So for number 9, it is a subtraction problem, so we do want to distribute that negative sign. That leaves us with 6x squared minus 5x, and then minus 2x squared minus 3x plus 2. And then if I go to combine my like terms, I'm going to combine 6x squared with minus 2x squared, and that'll give me 4x squared. And then I'm going to combine negative 5x with negative 3x, and that's going to give me negative 8x, and then I'm going to have a plus 2 at the end. So now when I look back at my answer compared to the person's answer who did it wrong, I can see that there's two places that they made a mistake. The middle term was part of their error, and then the sign attached to the 2 was part of their error. And if I go one step back above that, I can see exactly where the mistake was. In parentheses are the like terms that they combined together. The 6x squared minus 2x squared, I did that too, and I got 4x squared. But right here where it was minus 5x plus 3x, I had minus 5x minus 3x, which means that this person did not distribute that negative sign. All right, so the real answer is 4x squared minus 8x plus 2, and the reason or the mistake that they made was that they didn't distribute the negative to the second parentheses. Right, so you remember you have to do that. All right, for number 10, I'm looking at a binomial times a binomial, which means that they need to have tried to use FOIL. So I'm going to check their foiling first and see if that's okay. And if that's okay, then we're going to look at what else they did. All right, so x times 3x is going to give me 3x squared. X times 1 is going to give me plus x. Negative 5 times 3x is negative 15x, and then negative 5 times 1 is negative 5. Right? And then when I go to combine my middle, I'm going to have 3x squared minus 14x minus 5. If I look at my answer compared to theirs, they're again in the middle is their mistake, and then there's a sign mistake attached to the 5. Right? But if I take one more step back before that and I look at my work compared to their work, I have 3x squared plus x just like they do, but I have a minus 15 right here and a minus 5 because this is a negative 5. This person did not use that as a negative 5, they used it as a positive 5. Right? So the mistake in this case was not using negative 5 when doing FOIL. Had they used it as a negative 5, they would have been fine. Right, so these are common mistakes that you guys as students tend to make as well. So watch out for them as you take your test. All right, for number 11 is asking you to find the perimeter of the polygon. Remember, perimeter is adding up all the outsides, which is basically no different than saying combine like terms. So start with your x's, walk around and grab them all. I have an x plus a 2x plus a 9x. 1 plus 2 is 3, 3 plus 9 gives me 12x. Then go and do the same thing with your constants. I have a positive 8, a positive 6, and a negative 6. 8 plus 6 is 14. 14 minus 6 is going to give me positive 8. So my perimeter expression for number 11 is 12x plus 8. For number 12, you're asked to find the area of the shaded region, right? And the first thing you need to recognize is that the shaded area in this picture is a trapezoid, right? And remember, I will give you these formulas in class so that you don't have to have them memorized. You could take and do the whole rectangle and subtract the area of the triangle and then get the leftover stuff, which is the actual trapezoid, but it's a lot faster if you use the trapezoid formula right from the beginning and go from there. Right, so the first thing I want to have you write down, if you haven't already, is the actual formula. 1/2 h times b1 plus b2. This is the formula that will get us area of a trapezoid. And if you look in our picture, we have one of the bases, that's the 9x plus 1, and we have the height, which is the 3x plus 2. And if you need the little chair piece that I talk about in class, there it is. Right, but we need to figure out the bottom base, which is this section right here. Right. And it's not present for us to see, but it's easy to figure out. Right? If we know that the entire length across the top is 9x plus 1, and they told us that the little portion of the triangle that's in the white space is 2x minus 4, we can subtract 2x minus 4. We know how to subtract polynomials. Right? So you're going to go back and you're going to do your distributing with your negative, and you're going to have 9x plus 1 minus 2x plus 4. Combine your like terms, so 9x minus 2x is 7x. Plus 1 and plus 4 is going to make plus 5. So the portion of the bottom base right here of the trapezoid that you didn't have, you have now figured out to be 7x plus 5. And we will use that in our trapezoid formula to help us get the area of this shaded part. All right, so now that we've got all of our pieces, we're going to go plug it in and make sure that we can understand what's going on. So we're going to keep the 1/2. The height is 3x plus 2. And then base 1 plus base 2. Base 1 is going to be 9x plus 1, and then I'm going to add to it the 7x plus 5 that we just figured out. Okay, and then because parentheses have to be done first in order of operations, you're going to have to combine the 9x plus 1 and 7x plus 5. So now I've got area equals 1/2 of 3x plus 2, and then I'm now going to have 16x plus 6 as my other binomial. All right, and at this point, you're going to have to do FOIL. Just don't forget to leave the 1/2 hanging out until we're finished. All right, so 3x times 16x is 48x squared. 3x times 6 is going to give you 18x. 2 times 16x is going to give you 32x, and 2 times 6 is going to give you plus 12. All right, so now again, we're going to combine the middle. So I'm looking at 1/2 times 48x squared plus 50x plus 12. And now at this last step is where you get to take 1/2 of everything. And lucky for us, everything's an even number, so it makes it even nicer. Half of 48 is going to be 24, so the area is 24x squared. Half of 50 is 25, so plus 25x, and half of 12 is 6, so plus 6. There's the area for that trapezoid piece. It's a lot of work because some pieces were missing, all right? But you guys have all the know-with-all and pieces to be able to figure this out. For 13 and 14, it is still area, but they are simplistic shapes, not complex ones, right? So it is standard formulas. For number 13, area formula for rectangles, length times width. So in this case, you're going to take 5x minus 7 times x plus 3, and once you get done with FOIL, you will have your final answer. So 5x times x is 5x squared, 5x times 3 is 15x, negative 7 times x is negative 7x, negative 7 times 3 is negative 21. Join the middle together, so you end up with area equals 5x squared plus 8x minus 21. Okay, and then for number 14, it is a triangle. Clear off some of this extra space right here. And in this triangle, the formula is going to be A equals 1/2 little b little h, and then here's the chair if you like the chair. Right, so when I go to plug in my formula, I have 1/2 times the base, which is x minus 3, and the height, which is 8x plus 2. Again, you're going to have to do FOIL first, and then you can take half of your answer. Okay, so x times 8x is 8x squared. X times 2 is plus 2x. Negative 3 times 8x is negative 24x. And negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. Right, combine your middle together. So we have 1/2 times 8x squared minus 22x minus 6. Again, everything is an even number, so to take half of it's really easy to do. Half of 8x squared is going to be 4x squared. Half of 22x is going to be minus 11x. And half of negative 6 is going to be negative 3. Okay, so there's your formula for area of that triangle. All right, for 15 through 20, you're going to find the product of all the different choices that actually 15 to 22 of all the different products that are out there. Most of them require FOIL just because they're binomial times binomial. Some of them are memory tricks that you can shorten your work with, and others of them are just going to be plain old distributing. All right, so for number 15, this is a basic FOIL problem. Right, you guys should be getting really good at doing FOIL by now. P times 2p is 2p squared. P times 3 is plus 3p. 3 times 2p is 6p, and 3 times 3 is 9. Combine your middle, so we have 2p squared plus 9p plus 9. For number 16, again, it's another FOIL problem. So 9m times 7m is going to give you 63m squared. 9m times 4 is going to be 36m. Negative 1 times 7m is negative 7m. Negative 1 times 4 is negative 4. Combine your middle together. So you have 63m squared plus 29m minus 4. Now number 17 you can do as FOIL if you remember to write it as 7a plus 2 times 7a plus 2. Or you can remember that I taught you a memory trick in class that you can certainly use to help you get to the answer without doing FOIL. It does not matter which way you go because the answers come out the same no matter what. Okay, for the memory trick though, just to refresh your memory of what it's about, you take 7a times 7a, which gives you automatically 49a squared. And then because there's a plus sign in the middle, you're going to have a plus sign in the first part and a plus sign in the back. 2 times 2 is going to give you 4, so now you've got your back. The middle part is usually where it's the trickiest. If you take 7a times 2, you get 14a. And then you need to add another 14a to it because we double the middle. So 14a plus 14a gives you 28a in the middle. Again, if you're not comfortable with that or you have no desire to memorize the memory trick behind it, then use FOIL and you will still end up with this exact answer. And there's no right or wrong way about it. Okay, for number 18, you cannot do FOIL because a binomial times a trinomial does not work that way. You have to do nothing but distributing. Right, so start with the w and give the w to everybody, and then come back and do the same thing with the negative 6. W times 4w squared is 4w to the third power. W times w is w squared. W times negative 7 is negative 7w. Right, now come back and do the same thing with the negative 6. Negative 6 times 4w is negative 24w squared. Negative 6 times w is negative 6w, and negative 6 times negative 7 is positive 42. And now you can go in and start combining like terms. Remember, highest power goes first. So 4w cubed does not have anybody. He goes in the front. You have plus w squared that's going to join with minus 24w squared. So 1 minus 24 is negative 23w squared. Then go to your single w's. You have a minus 7w and a minus 6w, which is going to make a minus 13w. And then nobody goes with plus 42, so he just drops down in the back. Right, they do produce longer answers when you have to do a binomial times a trinomial or even more, so don't panic when that happens. Just be prepared for it and deal with it every step of the way. Right, for number 19, it's back to another FOIL problem, just basic foiling. So 2y times y is 2y squared, 2y times 1 is 2y, 17 times y is 17y, and 17 times 1 is 17. Combine your middle, so you have 2y squared plus 19y plus 17. Okay, for number 20, this is another memory trick. If you remember it, you can get your answer in less than a minute, but if not, you will have to use FOIL to get this, right? The way this one works, because it's the exact same binomial with different signs in it, I'm going to have no middle term. So x times x will give me x squared, and 2 times 2 will give me 4, and because it's a positive times a negative, it will always be a negative in the middle, right? And again, if you did FOIL, the middle would disappear, and you would be stuck with that anyway. Right, so 21 is another one of the memory tricks that was just like number 17. The only difference is that it has a minus sign. Right, so in order to do this one, because it has a minus sign, you're going to have a minus in the front, and then you'll still have a plus in the back. X times x will give you x squared. 12 squared is going to give you 144 in the back, but remember, to get the middle, you have to multiply the two pieces and then double them. So x times 12 is 12x. And then add another 12x. So 12x plus 12x will give you 24x right in the middle. Again, use FOIL if this is not working for you otherwise. 22 is just a basic distributing problem. It does happen to have different letters, right? But combine them using your exponent rules and everything will be just fine. Do not worry about the order of this one, right? Just take care of it as it is. For x to the fifth, y times 2x, right? There's no other coefficient, so keep the 2. You have x5 and another x, so that produces x to the 6th, and then you have to keep the y that's already there. Now go to the middle. Negative 4 is your coefficient, and then you have no other letter, so you have to have x5y. And then go to the very back, right? 3 is your only coefficient, so keep the 3. You have x5 joined with x2, that makes x to the 7th, and then you have y with y cubed, which makes y to the 4th. Again, do not worry about the order of this, simply because with different letters in the problem and more than one letter, the order is not going to be specific. All right, for 23 to 25, right, you may cross through the name of the special product. It's not so important that you know the names of them as it is knowing what their product comes out being. And if you use FOIL for each one of these, this is the memory tricks that we were talking about before. So if you have a plus b times a minus b, you will end up with a squared minus b squared in your final answer, right? For the next two, they're exactly the same except for the sign part. So you're going to have in this first one a squared plus 2ab plus b squared, and the bottom one's going to be exactly the same except for that first sign. It's going to be a squared minus 2ab plus b squared, okay? And those are your memory tricks that you need to know how to use, okay? And if not, you can always FOIL them back out and it will come out at the same point. All right, for 26 to 29, right, these are the division problems. And remember, division, we are dividing everything at the top by the single thing on the bottom, right? So it's like individual little pieces. If you have 3 terms on top, you will have 3 terms in your answer. If you have 4 terms on top, you have 4 terms in your answer, right? That's just how these work. So for each one of these, we're going to divide the top term by 2x. So 4 divided by 2 gives me a 2. X cubed over x gives me x squared. Go to the next one. Negative 12 divided by 2 is negative 6. X over x cancels out, and I don't have any more x's. And then on the next one, I have negative 6 divided by 2, so that's negative 3, but the x is left on the bottom, so I have to keep it on the bottom. Notice I had 3 terms in my starting problem, and now I have 3 terms in my answer. For number 27, there are 2 terms up top, so I should end up with 2 terms in my answer. Negative 9 divided by 3 is negative 3. K over k just crosses off. There's no more k's in that first term. Now go to the back. 21 divided by 3 is a positive 7. I have k6 over k, which reduces down to k to the 5th. Remember, in division, we subtract our exponents. Okay. For number 28, 8 divided by negative 2 is going to give you negative 4. Now you have 8 a's over 1 a, so that's going to leave you with 7 a's, and then all the b's are still up there. Then go to the middle. Negative 4 divided by negative 2 is a positive 2. A squared over A still leaves you with an A hanging out. Then when you go to the back, positive 2 divided by negative 2 is a negative 1. And then you have A squared over A, so that leaves you with an A and a B. Okay, if you want to write the 1 there because it makes you feel better, you certainly can. Remember, I had 3 terms up top. I've got 3 terms in my answer. All right, when I go to number 29, same thing, 3 terms up top, I should have 3 terms in my answer. 24 divided by 6 is 4, u5 over u is going to be u4, v squared over v is going to be v. Now go to the middle. You'll notice positive 6uv divided by positive 6uv, 6 divided by 6 is 1. You must put the 1 there because all the other letters disappear, and you have to have a term for that. Okay, and then you go to the third term, negative 36 divided by 6 is negative 6. U squared over u gives you a u up top, and then the v's cross off, so you don't even have any v's left in that one. All right, but be very careful about that positive 1 piece, because if your letters disappear, you still have to have the number 1 there to hold its spot. All right, and then the very last question is one that I've been trying to ingrain in your head since we started the last unit, not this current unit, but the one before, and it's to explain why the following statement is false. The product of a plus b squared is a squared plus b squared. So many of you want to take this little 2 outside this parentheses and distribute it to the a and the b, and you can't. You should now be able to tell me why. All right, and here's where the logic needs to come in. A plus b parentheses squared means that you have a plus b times a plus b. It means there's 2 of them, right? And you cannot just distribute because then you lose the middle term, right? So now that you see that you have 2 binomials, FOIL must be used. Right? And after you use FOIL, right, you get the answer, right? So you need to be able to tell me that you cannot, and I emphasize the word cannot, distribute a power to a, or to an, should I say, addition or subtraction problem, only to multiplication or division. So the sooner that you are comfortable with that and realize that, the easier these things are going to be along the way. So do not ever distribute a power to an addition problem. You have to actually FOIL it out. Right, so use these to study for and prepare for the test. The test is not a difficult one. Most students usually do very well with it, right? But come to class with any questions you may have that I can address in addition to getting ready to take the test.